Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Cankor by Matthew Allison. This is a 2020 collection of the, I imagine, what was then the extant Cankor stories. I just found out on the internet that in 2022, Matthew Allison self-published big fat hardcover that collects all of this and some other stuff. So I'm sad that I don't have that, so I can't review the complete Cankor. But I have this, and I should thank the fine people at the James D. Giovanna International House of Sequential Arts for donating this to the library here at the Academy. I've never seen Matthew Allison before this, and it's quite astounding, this stuff. It's this crazy, almost like superhero comic, but it's not at all. It's a complete, surreal, mind-bending, almost psychedelic comic, but in the trappings of a superhero comic. I like a guy on the internet, he described this as Michael DeForge meets Frank Quitely. And it's pretty apropos. It's kind of a small book, as you can see by the size here. Not that big. This was published by Ad House. So, yeah, if anyone has a spare copy of that deluxe edition, feel free to contact me. And if you'd like to donate to the Academy. It has these nice flaps. Here, I should show you the cover with the full-on, really nice end papers, crazily intricate. That's pretty nuts. A little illustration here, and here's the title page. Man, I just really love his art. Even that lettering is amazing. It's like Flintstones lettering. So the comic starts off totally differently than it ends up. We see this guy who, everyone's kind of drawn like some mutant, eyeless, bizarre character. But this guy's just a normal human, even though he looks like this. He's talking about how he hasn't been out of his house in a while, kind of a shut-in, but he really wants to get out of the house to check out this punk rock band at a show. He's got a little Steven button here, and he feels really out of place because he hasn't been out of the house in a while. So from his internal dialogue or monologue, we realize that he works at a print shop. He's really into comics, making comics. That's probably why he's a shut-in. And it seems that some of his art has been appropriated for this band's flyer, which he finds odd. And then the band starts to play. It's just so weird how nobody has eyes in this comic. He even has eyeglasses, even though he has no eyes. He gets into a scuffle on the dance floor, and he basically gets his ass beat. And then Cankor shows up. This is Cankor. I like how he's all color in this black and white world. The cartoonist cries out to Cankor. He says, "Please help me." But Cankor just becomes immaterial and floats up through the ceiling. And when he does, he's on this weird alien landscape. He starts climbing up this kind of outcrop of rocks. It almost has like spikes on it. And the spikes, as he pulls on these like spikes, they kind of come loose. We also see here that Cankor is just like, he has all these weird cuts on his skin, and you can see circuitry. Just so many bizarre things in this comic that are unexplained. He yanks at one of the spikes, and look, it's like a weird shriveled Batman head comes out. And it seems like the whole outcrop is made up of these. His ears are the spikes that were in the outcrop. It's definitely the Kelly Jones Batman with the huge ears. And then it says Calamity of Challenge. I suspect that this was a mini-series. These were comics. Because this Calamity of Challenge logo pops up every few pages as if that was, the next comic. But I don't know. I couldn't find anything out on the internet about it. I like this how the logo seems to be part of the scene. As if it's a solid thing there. In fact, this guy grabs a letter. I don't even know who this guy is. I don't think he ever appears again. God, look at this craziness. And then, so it says across town, we see this other kind of superheroic character. He basically dislodges his own hand. He's another kind of robotic creature. And then he puts on this, fits this giant gun into his wrist. It's almost like a transformer or something, or a Micronaut. And I'm not even sure what's going on here. It seems to be some kind of weapon. God, his drawing chops are so good. So, like I said, I have no idea what's going on here. It's just amazing to look at. And it does have some kind of sequentiality, but I'm not sure what's going on. Some of this stuff almost reminds me of Charles Burns and the creepy organicness of it. So now we see this dude, whoever the hell he is. And he's probably another Cankor. It seems like everyone in this comic, all the superheroic characters are called Cankor or variations on that name. So this guy basically forms himself, comes out of this kind of stony womb, and then his hands develop, and it looks like he's kind of like MODOK-like. He's like MODOK's cousin or something. He's got his face in his chest. And then it says 8:35 a.m., already late, already angry. And then this is where, like, you realize this guy, he doesn't care about any kind of typical story structure or even by, like, alternative comic standards. He just throws this page in. King Cankor, Comics and Stories, an obvious parody of King Cat by John Porcellino. He kind of nails it, actually. And it's a little dream comic that Cankor has, where he's hanging out with some dead kid from high school. They're listening to Fugazi, and then a squirrel eats the dead kid's finger. And then that's it. He just throws that in the middle of the story. Well, quote-unquote story. And this MODOK guy says, today's the day I get my head straight. Can't keep fucking around. Jolts himself with this weird battery device. That's a skull, a rotting skull. He grabbed the little the cord that goes from the skull that he's going to jam into his own head. It's interesting that it makes the panel border here. Oh, look at this, guys. So he's jolting himself with this shit. But this panel, that's some amazing stuff. Love that. And here was the Calamity of Challenge again. That's why I suspect Maybe that was the first issue. This is the second issue now. But I don't know. Such a dumb title. It sounds like something a really bad Marvel writer would make. And then this other superhero creature shows up. I think he's another Cankor. And he basically says, you know, my super team needs some brute force. Would you like to join my team? You don't have to decide right away. And he tells them about how their muscle on their team, Cankor, he died. And this is Cankor here. So then the guy basically says, okay, I'll test you. Let's do some roughhousing. And he attacks him. Because the Modok guy says, no, I don't want to. But the other superhero doesn't care. And the guy just keeps attacking him. And the Modok guy rips off the other guy's hands, which also are kind of, you know, have circuitry behind them. And then he grabs his weapon and he runs him through. As he does run him through, the other superhero says, we could have been friends. And all the Modok guys say that is shoulda, woulda, coulda. I really love this 2-page spread. And now we have a fake ad, just like those ads in the old 70s comics. Cankor stick-ons. Use glue in an attempt to place these on the wall. You can put them on a tree, your face, the Bible. This is pretty dead on. I never knew one kid who bought those stick-ons. They could have been a total scam. So soon after, I'm going to keep calling them the Modok guy, since everyone's named Cankor in here. He comes upon another crazy character wearing one of those Batman masks. And he says, hey, are you selling anything? I need a costume, something tough looking. And the Modok guy opens up this, like what? The guy's not paying attention. He's going through some costumes. The Modok guy sees that there's something poking out of this like rock structure. He opens it up and there's basically like 30 dead Cankors. I guess they're not all dead. One of them reaches out to him. And so the Modok guy kills the merchant, the costume merchant. And he grabs one of the uniforms. So I guess this is he's the main Cankor, the Modok guy, I guess. Which is kind of weird that he would cover his face. But nothing really makes sense in this comic, so. Like, for example, you know, his body just warps whenever Matthew Allison wants to draw something cool. I totally get the sense of this comic that Matthew Allison just wanted to draw certain cool images. And so he just made this comic around it. You know, it doesn't have much plot. It's very dreamlike, I guess sometimes nightmarish, and doesn't have a lot of coherency. But it's still amazing. Just like a great dream can be, a great dream comic. So he sees this other weird creature. I don't know what the hell he is. He's some kind of like, I don't know, he looks like he's all crippled and maimed. And he looks over and he sees this guy. I'll try to crack it open. So here's another guy. I think he's got some kind of Cankor-like name. Kind of a wicked costume. Now we cut back to the more mundane story. And we see that that cartoonist, he's drunk as fuck. He's heading home. I love this how in his thought balloon, it's all scribbled almost, like overwriting itself. He's just saying, have to quit drinking, have to quit drinking, have to quit drinking. I felt like that some nights. When you're really, really blotto. And he finally makes it home. And I guess he pukes up. He's wearing a Frank shirt. Frank and Manhog. So I guess the next morning, I assume this is, he realizes that he kind of messed up his shirt. So instead of just washing it, he throws it away. It's just like, throws it in the dumpster. And then a week later, two of his kind of like trailer park neighbors, he's wearing a hate t-shirt now, the cartoonist. And this woman says, ooh, I really like that shirt. Carl here just found himself a unique shirt. And he says, yeah, it's a shirt with a cat. And the cat is a pickle on a stick. And the cat's riding on a hog. But the hog is the features of a man. He's a man hog. And the cartoonist is that classic comic reaction. The guy found his t-shirt in the dumpster. I don't know what that means, what it has to do with these guys. So these guys are Cankor and this other guy are chatting in this amazing landscape of just like weird twisted branches, it looks like. It turns out, though, it's just an amalgamation of all those weird creatures that he just passed. The one that looked like he was all crippled and broken. Look at this. That's insane. That must have taken him a long time to draw this. And of course, their dialogue is just very odd. There's that one floating creature. I guess he escaped. Well, didn't escape. He kind of floated away. And when Cankor got there, he was trying to lasso him in with those two beams of force. And it's interesting because now Cankor seems very willing to join a team. This guy is a team. And he's like, hey, if you're looking for somebody, I got some skills. And now we have a flashback. This other guy, this other Cankor, talks about his team. And I guess one of the... so this guy's called Cankor with a K. And not this guy telling the story, this other guy in his team. He was coming home one day, and one of his twin felines, his pets, he found the mutilated carcass of it. And so they found a clue. They found this hand. So remember that guy at the beginning who took off his hand? And so they hunted him down. This is the super team of all the various Cankors. And they hunt this guy down with one hand because they realized, they thought that he killed the cats. And this guy with one hand seems very befuddled. And but they're just like, we knew he was guilty, though. So here we see the team. There's Shankor, Battle Armor Cankor, Starankor, I think that's a nod to Jim Steranko, and Tankor. And so they start beating the shit out of him. I love this. This is Starankor putting a pinprick in the guy's heart. But it just looks like this beautiful abstract art. And that lettering of his, that solid, blocky lettering, I love it. And this is Cankor with an X. Seems like he has these Wolverine-type claws that grow right out of his hand. And then he takes care of the one-handed Cankor. Man, that's crazy. Oh, man. It's really nice art. Well, I don't know about nice, but it's a really good illustration. After they kill the poor guy, Cankor actually says, well, you know, I'm sorry, Cankor says, you know, actually the cats were acting kind of aggressive the other day. Maybe this guy's not so guilty, but it's too late. So they put him in this regenerative vat, a flesh regenerator, and then he escapes, and he kills Cankor. I don't know why I'm trying to describe this plot. It's just ridiculous. Cankor and Cankor. And now he's Cankor with 2 R's. Next we have a nice little Marvel Comics homage. This is just so flawlessly done. The little box up here that usually tells the origin of the character, like in the 70s they used to do that in Marvel Comics. It's just a weird little story about Legends of the Dark Knight #1. Not a story, just talking about how everyone thought it was going to be a collector's item, but of course it wasn't. I like the credit box, story layouts, finished art, colors, all by Matthew Allison. And in the caption boxes, it says, editor's note. Sharp-eyed readers have noticed that the past 3 issues have lacked any comments or narration from me. And it's basically because I'm quitting. I'm quitting Cankor Comics. I cannot keep stomaching coming into the bullpen to work with fools. And so while there's this like kind of superhero narrative going on in the art, the editor keeps talking about, you know, his just whining about why he's quitting and explaining why. Talking about his horrible co-workers. And he ends his little diatribe with, and God help the next poor soul who has to deal with that miserable wretch, Matthew Allison, but is blurred out. I think that's like a little chapter break. And then, yeah, still just inexplicable. So one of that little thing I was talking about earlier, the crippled weird thing, turns into this cute little elf looking thing. It's just floating in space. Looks like it doesn't even belong in this comic because it's all black and white, drawn in a totally different style. And we see that guy from the beginning that Cankor ripped his arms off. The super being. And so Cankor steals his costume. And I believe this is the Cankor with 2 R's. Or maybe not. Maybe it's our main character because he does have a face on his chest. It just looks like it's been just been eradicated. So now across space. Yeah, I gotta stop getting into the intricacies of this quote-unquote plot. And just love the art. So now these guys start fighting. Man, love those letters, those sound effect letters. He does really good superhero fights, even though I'm sure that's not the reason why he wanted to make this comic. Or maybe it is. But, like, it looks like if he got a job, went back in time to Extreme Studios in 1992, he would have totally fit in, you know? Now we cut back to the cartoonist. He's at his job at the copy shop. I guess a mini comic has come in that needs to be saddle stitched. And it's King Cat. So this is the copy store where John Porcellino gets his comics collated, I guess. Printed and collated. So he gets off work and he's just like, okay, I'm turning over a new leaf. Every night I just get drunk and I don't do my comics, but tonight I'm gonna. But then he stops at a store, wastes all this money on just, nerd stuff, Laserdisc from Hong Kong, and a new record. And then he goes home, starts dicking around, and pretty soon he's like, oh man, I could really use a beer. So he gets drunk again, and no comics are made. Now back to the fight scene, to this wicked fight scene. And the guy with the face on his chest, he shocks the other Cankor. And I love this page. Basically, he's reduced him to just like, I don't know, the skeleton and a nervous system. I don't know what we're looking at here, but it looks amazing. And then all of a sudden, he brings in these watercolors. It's just like beautiful abstract art here. These 6 panels. Really nice looking page. I have no idea what's going on. Back to the cartoonist. He's drawing his sketchbook. I think this is his little character. But he's all drunk now, so it's not working well. He's not drawing well. He keeps fucking up, scratching out his art. And now one super character impinges on his world again. I'm not sure who this guy is. He says you're making a mess out there. And when they look out the window, his cartoon character, there's like all these mutilated dead ones. I think because he's been scratching them out. And so they manifested as these dead characters. But I'm not sure. And then we change scenery. Back to the superhero world. And we see 2 of those Batman guys. And it looks like they're manufacturing the sound effect letters. I guess for future sound effects. And here's his cartoon character kind of mixed with this old guy. Which maybe he's the cartoonist as an old man, I don't know. I hope I never die, he says. And that's it. But then again, this isn't the whole thing. So maybe that nice graphic novel that collects everything, maybe somehow it explains this. I kind of doubt it, though. I don't think Matthew Allison's in the business of explaining these comics. I think he loves the quandary that he creates. These notes are just so weird, where he's talking about, like, so, the autobio parts of the story, quote unquote, about the cartoonist. He's like, well, I want to explain that, like any autobiographical cartoonist, I change a few things. And he tells you the little things he changes in really crazy detail. And like, for example, the band at the club that he went to see, they weren't doing a sweet cover. They did an AC/DC cover. There's all these weird little things, which I think are lies anyway. I think he's making it all up. So he has this whole like fake history of himself. Talks about how he was hired to draw Batman year 5, but it's still unpublished. And then we see that little weird elf character, Little Shando in Fire. And just a weird little gag strip. I think this is supposed to be from Matthew Allison's early fanzine, which I don't think it is. I think this is all made up. But of course, I don't know. I don't know much about Matthew Allison. And then this is like spot on. He totally duplicates the font and the typography of the Comics Journal. Here's the review section, Comics Library. And this guy is reviewing Calamity of Challenge number 3. And just talking about how shitty the comic is. And he basically is so disgusted with Matthew Allison's latest comic, even though he says some good things about it. And basically so angry that he quits the Comics Journal right then and there. He says, "Stop sending me this shit, Gary." And then they even have a swipe file, which used to be a feature in Comics Journal. And it looks like one of the panels of this comic was swiped from Secret Wars by Mike Zeck. Look at that. It just totally looks like a page from the Comics Journal. He really did the work. And then we have these like one-page, almost gag strips, but they're not very, not much gags really, because they're hard to understand. It's almost like a more cartoony version of Cankor. So just more high surrealism going on here. Kind of Dada humor, absurdist humor. But God, I love his graphics. This one's called Liberty Meadows for some reason. I love this one where this creature has all these little holes in his face and these like worm-like circuitry start spilling out of the holes. That's just so cool looking. This one, he gets a package, man mask with real tears. And so it comes with this little jar of human tears, but they're expired. And he slaps his face in frustration. He's like, "Oh, it won't work without the tears." Nice little drawing. I love this amazing drawing of Cankor. And he's saying the AA prayer. The God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, yada yada thing. A little thank you page. And a little final little drawing here. Excuse me. Matthew Allison, his biography. I like how, it's like a typical biography about where he went to school. But then it says, the feature film Batman was released on his birthday in 1989. Like, that's a major achievement in his life. More of these wicked cool end papers. And nothing on the back cover. So there you go, guys. Cankor by Matthew Allison. Part of me didn't even want to review this because I just want to get that other one that has all of this plus more. But I'm probably never going to do that. I'm always broke and lazy. So this is probably the only Cankor I will have for the foreseeable future. I hope you guys like looking at it. I know it's I probably tried to describe the quote-unquote plot too much because I realized it's just ridiculous. But man, it's worth having. I love just flipping through this. The art is so amazing. And Also, just the surrealism of it, even though it's not a very cogent story or anything like that, her plot, it was fun as hell to read. It's not like I was bored reading this ever, because you never knew what was going to happen. So that's it for today's video, guys, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.